Welcome. Today, we delve into a topic that's rapidly moving from the theoretical to the practical in workplaces worldwide: the use of sophisticated AI systems to monitor, quantify, and evaluate employee performance. This technology is becoming increasingly ubiquitous, which compels us to confront a pivotal question. Is this an innovative leap towards a more objective and productive workplace, or a perilous step towards an era of digital surveillance that erodes trust and human dignity? To debate this, we're joined by two distinguished guests. Arguing in favor is Isabelle Dubois, Chief Innovation Officer at a leading tech firm. And presenting the case against is Dr. Samuel O'Connell, a renowned sociologist and ethicist specializing in digital labor.
Thank you, Maria. I believe it's imperative that we frame this conversation not as a matter of implementing a frightening new technology, but as a necessary evolution away from antiquated and deeply flawed systems of performance review. For decades, employees have been subjected to the annual review, a process widely recognized as ineffective, anxiety-inducing, and riddled with subjective human error. The primary virtue of AI-powered performance analytics is its profound capacity to mitigate, if not entirely eliminate, the inherent human biases that plague traditional management. I'm referring to well-documented phenomena like recency bias, where a manager's judgment is swayed by recent events, or the halo and horns effect, where a single positive or negative trait unfairly colors an entire performance evaluation. We must move towards a paradigm where performance is assessed on quantifiable output and demonstrable skills, not on the subjective and often biased perception of a single individual. Furthermore, this isn't merely about judgment, it's about development. Continuous, data-driven feedback allows for real-time course correction. An AI system can identify that an employee is struggling with a specific software or a particular type of client interaction, and immediately suggest targeted micro-trainings or mentorship opportunities. This fosters a culture of continuous improvement and proactive support, a stark contrast to the punitive nature of waiting a year to be told you've been underperforming. When implemented ethically, these systems offer unparalleled transparency. They provide clear, consistent metrics that empower employees by showing them precisely what's expected for success. Simultaneously, this data helps the organization identify and remedy systemic workflow inefficiencies, benefiting everyone. This is fundamentally about augmenting human potential and managerial capability, not simply monitoring it.
Thank you. While Isabelle paints a compelling picture of technological utopia, I must ground this discussion in what I see as a perilous trajectory towards the dehumanization of the workplace. This isn't merely an upgrade from the annual review, it's a fundamental shift in the relationship between employer and employee, one that touches upon basic human rights to privacy and dignity. My core argument is this: the mass implementation of AI tracking represents a profound and unprecedented invasion of privacy. It risks turning the workplace into a digital panopticon, where every keystroke, every mouse movement, and every moment of perceived inactivity is logged, analyzed, and judged. This approach reduces the complex, multifaceted, and often unquantifiable nature of human contribution to a narrow, crude set of metrics. It's the complete commodification of the individual. I must also rigorously challenge this central premise of objectivity. The notion that an algorithm is inherently unbiased is a dangerous illusion. Algorithms are products of their creators, designed by humans and trained on historical data. If that data reflects past discriminatory practices, and it often does, the I will not eliminate bias, it will automate it, laundering it under a veneer of technological neutrality. This makes biased outcomes even more insidious, and far harder for an individual to challenge. Finally, we can't ignore the severe psychological detriment. Constant, pervasive surveillance fosters a culture of perpetual anxiety and chronic stress. It stifles creativity, as workers become risk-averse, afraid to attempt novel solutions that don't map neatly onto predefined, quantifiable tasks. Ultimately, it erodes the foundational trust that should exist between an employer and their employees, transforming a collaborative partnership into a deeply unsettling master-servant dynamic.
Thank you both for those powerful opening statements. Isabel, I'd like to start with you. Dr. O'Connell raises a crucial point about algorithmic bias. How can a system be truly objective when the data it learns from may reflect historical inequalities, and its inner workings are often an opaque black box to the very people it's evaluating?
That is an entirely valid and critical consideration, Maria. The challenge of algorithmic bias is real, but it's not an insurmountable obstacle. It's a design and engineering problem that we're actively working to solve. It's a nascent technology, and its ethical implementation requires rigorous, continuous auditing of both the code and the outcomes. We must insist on using diverse and representative data sets for training, and there's a growing movement towards developing more transparent, explainable AI models. My core contention is this: the quantifiable, though admittedly imperfect, bias of an algorithm is far easier to identify, measure, and correct than the hidden, unconscious, and often denied biases of human managers. We can audit code. We can't audit a person's subconscious.
If I may, that sounds like a technocratic fantasy. The proposed solution to the problems of surveillance often involves implementing even more surveillance to audit the original system. You speak of enforceability in audits, but who's conducting these audits? The companies themselves? An underfunded government agency? More fundamentally, you can't solve the problem of what is unquantifiable. How does an algorithm measure the value of a senior employee mentoring a junior colleague? How does it quantify the ethical courage of an employee who speaks up against a flawed strategy? It can't. It measures clicks, not character.
A compelling point. Dr. O'Connell, let me turn to you. Isabel's argument for real-time feedback and personalized development is very persuasive. In a world without these advanced tools, aren't we simply resigning ourselves to the inefficient, once-a-year reviews that employees themselves consistently criticize as being unhelpful, untimely, and deeply subjective?
It's a fair question, and I'll readily concede that the traditional annual review system is often a bureaucratic failure. It's a relic of a different era of management science. However, the solution to a flawed human system is not to replace it with a dehumanizing technological one. The answer lies in improving the human system. We should be investing in better, more empathetic management training. We need to foster cultures where frequent, meaningful one-on-one conversations are the norm, not the exception. We can implement systems like 360-degree feedback that value qualitative, descriptive input from peers and subordinates, not just quantitative data from a machine. It requires more effort, yes, but it preserves dignity.
But with all due respect, Dr. O'Connell, those solutions are simply not scalable in large global organizations. A manager with a team of 15 can't realistically have deep, meaningful daily feedback sessions with everyone. The human-centric solutions you propose, while noble, still suffer from the same subjectivity we're trying to escape. The vision here isn't to replace the manager, it's to empower the manager. AI tools can handle the drudgery of data collection and initial analysis, freeing up the manager's time to focus on precisely the high-value, empathetic human interactions you're championing. The two are not mutually exclusive. They're synergistic.
In closing, I urge us to look past the seductive language of efficiency and, quote, optimization, and see this technology for what it fundamentally is: a tool of surveillance, not support. We've discussed the principal dangers at length: the erosion of personal privacy in what should be a professional space, the automation and concealment of bias under a false cloak of objectivity, and the cultivation of a high-stress, low-trust work environment that is inimical to genuine innovation. This path leads to a workplace where employees are too fearful to collaborate authentically, to take creative risks, or to challenge authority. The pursuit of productivity is understandable, but we're compelled to ask ourselves at what cost. Is a marginal, debatable increase in output worth sacrificing the very autonomy, creativity, and dignity that define our humanity? We must make a conscious choice to build workplaces that empower people, not digital panopticons that control them.
I'd like to conclude by reiterating that AI-driven performance analytics, when designed and deployed with ethical intentionality, represent a powerful force for fairness and professional growth. The primary benefit, which must not be forgotten, is our ability to finally move beyond the pervasive and often damaging subjectivity of human-only evaluations. We can empower employees with clear, transparent, and actionable data about their own performance. This unlocks new levels of personal development and organizational efficiency that benefit everyone. This isn't about replacing human judgment. It's about augmenting it with objective insights. To resist this technological evolution isn't a defense of humanity, but a defense of an inefficient, opaque, and often inequitable status quo that has failed countless employees. The future of work is one where technology and humanity collaborate to create a workplace that is not only more productive, but profoundly more meritocratic and fair.
Thank you, Isabel Dubois and Dr. Samuel O'Connell, for an exceptionally insightful and vital debate. You've brilliantly illuminated the central tension of our age: the undeniable potential of technology weighed against its profound ethical and human implications. We hope this discussion encourages all of you to consider these critical arguments within your own workplaces and communities. Thank you for joining us.